20% of young adults with ADHD struggle with internet addiction. It often co-occurs with depression and anxiety. Severity of ADHD symptoms links to the risk for and severity of internet addiction. All subtypes of ADHD are vulnerable. It's not just hyperactive impulsive, it's everybody. Both males and females with ADHD are equally vulnerable. There's no gender issue. There's an overlap between the ADHD brain wiring and the internet addiction brain wiring. ADHD meds can help with ADHD and internet addiction treatment. There's some specific studies. There's one in Japan where they use methylphenidate in college students and addicted and not addicted and all this stuff. And I'll talk more about that, but it's an important one. Social skills deficits and ADHD specific risk factors. So, yeah. So let's now shift to this. Am I synced? I am synced. There's a growing popular myth about internet addiction and ADHD, that too much screen time causes ADHD. This is incorrect and impossible. As we've seen, ADHD, or as we know, ADHD is a neurobiologically based disorder. It comes at birth, right? We can't make ourselves ADHD. Having ADHD is a predisposition to having problems with screen time overuse, but the reverse is not and cannot be true. Having said that, there is something to be aware of. A lot of research has been recently coming in on this phenomenon of short form video addiction, SFVA or SVA that I referenced earlier. It is indicating that chronic exposure to short form, rapidly changing algorithmic driven content can train the brain to crave constant novelty and instant reward, temporarily weaken sustained attention and impulse control in ways that mimics ADHD symptoms in neurotypical individuals. This does not mean someone has developed ADHD, but it is driving neurotypicals to ADHD-like brains, but again, in only a temporary state. I'm pointing at my note that says long pause. Sorry. I'm really glad that I did this presentation because one of the reasons is the prep process forced me to update my own knowledge on the subject. I published an online clinician's training for working with ADHD earlier this year, and in my section on addiction, I thought the story ended here. But I acknowledged how this topic was discussed at this year's APSARD conference and how they made this point clear. But in a recent newsletter article from Chad caught my eye and made me start wondering if I was giving the whole story. Sure, watching shorts doesn't cause ADHD, but it definitely impacts the brain. So what happens to ADHD brains when they watch too many shorts? So I pasted all the presentation abstracts from the conference book into a ChatGPT session, and I asked it to help me understand the next 2 points. And sidebar, I make pretty regular use of AI tools while developing this webinar, mostly ChatGPT and Claude. Help me in multiple spots where I get slides and script and I get stuck and need help with analysis, but I always adapt the results to be my own work. In a few spots, however, like this one and the next slide, the results are too complicated for me to try to reword, so I just copy paste it directly. Whenever I do that, I put a ChatGPT logo on the screen to be transparent. These are not my words. That's where it came from. Back to the slide. Findings from the APSARD 2025 really stood out. It highlighted how the design of short-form media platforms map almost perfectly onto ADHD neurocognitive traits. People with ADHD already have reward delay aversion. We struggle to wait for payoff, and platforms that deliver instant novelty with every scroll that further conditions the brain to be dependent on micro reward cycles. Then our low baseline dopamine meets the algorithm's unpredictability that in this, maybe the next one will be better. It drives compulsive checking. Add inhibitory control deficits to the mix. Now autoplay and infinite scroll make it nearly impossible to disengage or notice how much time has passed. Combine that with emotion dysregulation. The content is designed to provoke outrage, tears, laughter, whatever. So much sexualized stuff, and people struggling with that. And you take a male and a female and look at their feeds, and even if guys aren't seeking it out, it knows what people, and it just puts it on there. Anyway. And finally, task avoidance meets low effort, high stimulation video. The brain says, why work on that report when I could just watch one more clip? Put together, you see how the ADHD brain wiring and platform design form this perfect storm for compulsive engagement. And it's not because of our weakness, it's because of neurobiology, and it's intentionally being exploited. So Second question I'd asked in this ChatGPT thing that I wrote down was, what are the consequences of chronic short form media use on the ADHD brain? While large-scale studies are still emerging, EPSAR 2025 presenters outlined several likely downstream effects that they're already seeing clinically. First, time blindness. People with ADHD report lost hours in scroll loops, missed obligations, more stress. I'm just going to do this for 5 minutes, 15, 30, 90 minutes later. Oh, I'm talking about emotion dysregulation. The algorithmic content amplifies feelings of rejection or irritability that ADHD brains already struggle to regulate. So that's something that we can talk about when we get into Q&As. The logic of an action that we take with an intent to de-stress, to escape, it's actually increasing our internal stress. It's releasing more cortisol. It's releasing more adrenaline. While it's maybe an escape, it's biologically, it's bad for us. Sleep is another big causality. Late night viewing pushes back circadian rhythm, reduces restorative trust, the whole revenge bedtime and all that kind of stuff. These tech companies have just hopped into our beds and just ruining our nights. Sorry, that was not on my script. I'm starting to. Also raised concern about self-perception and how ADHD-themed TikToks and social media just can blur lines between education and identity, sometimes leading to inaccurate self-labeling or reinforcement. Finally, multitasking. What feels like efficiency is often just shallow processing, which leads to cognitive fatigue. In short, these same platforms that are designed for stimulation are quietly reshaping attention, mood, and identity in ADHD platforms. It's, using my phrase from earlier, it's worthy of our outrage.